You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, covering it all. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, it is that day. It is day of days. It is the day you wait for all week long. It is Friday. Friday! There it is. All right, congratulations. You made it to the end of another week, and we're proud to walk through the afternoon towards go-home time with you right now on Rightside Radio, and that would be Boomer pushing the buttons on the board. Hey, man.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
It feels like fall a little bit.
It does.
Like
I'm enjoying it.
Mild fall.
A mild fall. I like it, so I'll take it.
And you said your grandmother said it felt like Oregon.
She did.
Because it's all misty.
It's all misty and a little rainy. She's like, man, this feels like Oregon. It feels like home.
In the rainforests of Oregon.
That's right.
All right. Hey, we got a great show laid on for you. 3 o'clock today, Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen is going to be on with us. Had some things happening not only in his office, but to related election offices around the nation. And I want to get his perspective on A, security, and B, what we're doing to make sure that everybody knows exactly where they live in terms of what district they're voting in. So, yeah, we got a conversation with Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen today at 3 o'clock. You all stay tuned for that one. And then there's a great triple dipper, so hit it.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper. 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. Number 1, going to cook up a batch of home fries because, man, there is some stuff happening around this state. There are things and places and people that you got to know are not just out there in D.C., not just across the pond somewhere. We're talking about right here in your backyard. So, yeah, we're going to spend some time reflecting on a local stuff. What's going on with a batch of home fries? Y'all stay tuned for that. Number 2, all right. Listen, every once in a while we got to take a look at the fact that there is a thing defined as a government run by the least competent of its citizens, which we refer to as a cacistocracy. And so I got an entire dipper here that I'm just labeling cacistocracy. That's where we are. It's just knuckleheads that are in office that are doing stuff, and you look at it and go, how do you get by? How do you even tie your shoes? And you're in charge of what? So yeah, cacistocracy, that's number 2 on the Triple Dipper. And then number 3, today indeed is Veterans Day, or actually the Veterans Day weekend begins this evening. So I want to spend a few minutes reflecting. And I think it's pretty important to take note of Alabama's role in the overall process of what we now call Veterans Day, to include, by the way, the first and still biggest Veterans Day parade in the nation. We'll talk about all of that and then have a actual sound clip of Ronald Reagan congratulating an Alabama citizen on his efforts to put all that in place. So, yep, number 3, in honor of our veterans, Veterans Day is the name of the dipper. Y'all stay tuned for that one. All right, hey, listen, let me jump over here to my comments. My opening monologue, we call it the Rightside Way. And just so as you know, Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics all across the North Alabama area, blanketing a huge swath of our listening area. Southern Immediate Care, open 7 days a week, y'all, every location. They can take care of you no matter what time. And listen, they can see all ages. And they are an amazing group of folks. This is who I use personally. And Southern Immediate Care, they are there for you, and they are the sponsor of the Rightside Way monologue. All right, listen, let me ask you a question. A serious question. What if you had an employee who was told up front that there are certain standards that had to be met at work, but they just didn't feel like doing it? I mean, seriously, how well would that go over? I tell you what, let's take the question even further. What if you had an employee who was told that professional attire was required, but they showed up in tattered jeans, a t-shirt, and flip-flops? And they were rude to your customers. And they never accomplished their task, and they even failed to be on time. What would you do? Well, I'd hope you'd show them the door. I mean, termination for cause, without delay. I mean, why would you not? When that kind of thing happens in the workplace, It diminishes the value of the business's good name. It also works against the morale of the other employees who see someone that's not being held to the same standards they are. Standards, conditions, expectations, they matter. And if standards are ignored, well, the whole organization could suffer. But let me take it a step further. There's two sides here. The employer, the boss, must also follow through. I mean, there's an old adage, you can't expect what you don't inspect. So an absentee boss or a boss that won't give constructive feedback, well, that's not really a boss. The boss has to ensure that the standards that were clearly outlined in the beginning are actually being upheld. Y'all, life has standards at every turn, actual standards that matter. Because if they don't matter, then we have no institutions of, well, anything. I mean, college graduation, it comes after good work. Payday comes after good work. Trophies are supposed to be awarded after good work. Standards, they matter. So why then is it okay for the Christian church to keep taking it on the chin without saying anything about the changes we see in culture? You didn't see that question coming, did you? I mean, think about it. The tenets of the Christian faith, whether you're a Catholic or a Protestant, whether you're a Methodist, a Baptist, a Presbyterian, or call yourself a full gospel Methabapterian, I don't care. The tenets and beliefs of the Christian faith are largely unified around the Bible as the underlying document, the root basis for the faith. And it lays out things pretty clearly. And yet, at every turn, Christians are shouted down these days as being intolerant, but we're not. We're told that we have to modify the Bible to fit today's standards, but we shouldn't. I mean, we're told the standards espoused in the Bible are outdated, no longer apply, but they do. But too often, though, in the face of this challenge to the very fabric of Christianity, the church remains silent. Now, I'm not talking about politics here. I don't care if a Christian church stays out of endorsements of candidates, that's fine. But they can certainly ask candidates questions about where they stand on the issues, and they should. On matters of public policy, it's not likely the church is going to address things like taxes or fiscal policy or international relations. But on matters that directly contravene the teachings of Jesus, why would the church not address them? I mean, a shepherd carries a stick to keep predators away from his sheep, right? So I suggest the shepherd of the church flock, the pastor, the priest, the reverend, should in some kind of like manner recognize that sometimes it's necessary for there to be a defense of the flock that makes up the congregation. That defense that I'm talking about, though, is just simply the voice of the church. The voice that says we will not condemn, but yet we will not condone because there are standards. So in recent days, left-wing pundits have claimed that, Christian extremists are responsible for school shootings, or that Christians should applaud drag queen story time for children, or that abortion should never be questioned. That if your job mandates that you use chosen pronouns of someone's illogical attempt to claim to be of another gender or no gender, that you must do so or be fired. Or for that matter, very much in the news, that we are not allowed somehow to address the very sad and somewhat appalling story of a pastor of a Baptist church in Phoenix City, Alabama, who took his own life when it was discovered that he was a transgender snuff porn author in his spare time. A story that is somehow being twisted into the notion that it's Christian conservatives who are wrong for pointing something out as being contrary to the norms of society, and certainly of the Bible that man professed to believe in. Look, in the past few years, we've seen cultural issues that could well have been addressed by faith leaders, but they were just left solely for the secular world to deal with. When BLM rioters burned the whole city blocks in the 2020 Summer of Love, I don't recall hearing the clergy of America calling for calm and saying enough's enough. When critical race theory is foisted upon students and teaches our children they were born either as an oppressor or an oppressed by virtue of their skin color, well, I have not heard an outcry from the church to call that theory down specifically and remind its proponents that we are all made in the image of God and that oppression comes from man, not from the Creator. When the image of the rainbow has been known for thousands of years as a symbol of God's promise is then co-opted to become the symbol of LGBTQ activism, why doesn't anybody from the church point it out? Look, folks, it's absolutely okay for us to have standards, to have expectations. In fact, we must have standards. Because if we don't have standards, we have nothing at all. The absence of standards is anarchy. Anything goes. Follow your own truth. But in the absence of standards, society breaks down and social order crumbles. Make no mistake, I know and I believe that the first and the foremost mission of the church as a whole is the advancement of the kingdom of God, the body of the church, no matter the denomination. We should be focused first on the tending of the souls of the flock, the care and the concern for the needy and the downtrodden. It should be that way. But when culture makes demands that Christians should abandon all their standards, especially those that are enumerated in the tenets of our faith. When culture demands that Christians must change to fit the latest trends, well, there should be a firm and unrelenting and very public stance from the leadership of the church that says no, because there are standards. There are mores, there are positions of faith that actually mean something. And if we don't stand by those standards, then our faith itself can become tattered and worn down. Our faith can appear meaningless. The church must speak. It must speak with love and compassion into our culture. Faith leaders with wisdom and discernment must take that hard stand that will not always be popular to protect the sanctity of the faith that they've been called to minister to. It's called protecting the flock. It's called defending the faith. We need the church to speak out in times like these. The flock needs to know the shepherd carries a stick to keep the lions and the bears away from the flock. It's just part of being a shepherd. Y'all, we need the church to speak. And that's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Well, there you have it. I'm a firm believer, y'all, that the job of a pastor is not just to pastor the flock, but to defend the flock. And you don't have to get out there and endorse a candidate. You don't have to get out there and jump all into politics. But there is nothing wrong with saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, we got some standards. We got some limitations on what we will say yes to, and we're saying no to that. It's important that the church leaders speak out. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just y'all making it cool to be a conservative. Just sitting here laughing, comparing notes with Boomer. So you guys, this is a total rabbit trail. All right,
Rabbit trail. I like rabbit trails.
Rabbit trails are good. You just made the comment about somebody being a little older than you whose kids are already grown. And it dawned on me, y'all did wait late to have your kids, really.
Yeah, I mean, we got married.
Of course, you got
late.
married. You were already 30.
Yeah, I was 30. I was 30 when we got married, and then we didn't. We just waited a little while, and it was God's timing, and it's okay. It's
God's timing. It's all good. Yeah. You're right. God's timing for us was a whole lot earlier. Charlene and I look back and we're like, what were we doing? We got married. I was married at 21. I was a dad by 23.
Wow.
By 25, I had 2 kids and a mortgage.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had no idea what was going on in life. I look back on it now and I'm thinking, I can't picture my kids when they were 21 or 23 doing those things.
Wow.
But yeah.
Right.
Of course, that makes us the cool grandparents.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. We allegedly still have youth and vitality on our side while we're grandparents. Hey, text lines are open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Text it or call it, both the same number. Several texts already jumped on in. James from Harvest says, Happy Veterans Day, Phil. Thanks for all you've done for our state. Oh, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, James. TL from Huntsville says, Phil, I was catching up on your podcast about the last debate. I was looking forward to the next GOP debate in Tuscaloosa until I heard that the debate will be televised on News Nation, a little-known channel few watch, and the CW, a B-grade channel with low-rated woke teen vampire shows. Says Ronna McDaniel has to go. Is she trying to, bury the debate or bury the GOP? I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what to say, except, here's the thing. News Nation, everybody's trying to make their bones. Everybody remembers that after 9/11, Fox suddenly had its day. Everybody was tired of CNN and needed something else. And I think News Nation, Newsmax, OAN, stuff like that, they're all looking for a way to get to make their bones. And anyway, they've also got Megyn Kelly, which I'll talk about more in a minute. But Megyn Kelly, a former Fox, host, is one of the moderators. So guarantee you, Fox ain't going to carry it. But anyway, yeah, we'll do what we got to do, man. But the main thing is we'll be talking about it. How about that? Allie from Athens talking about thank you, Allie, talking about the monologue a moment ago. It says, you were in the zone once again, Ranger. Good word, sir. Thank you, my friend. What you got? What are you doing?
I have a question, another rabbit trail.
You're leaning into it.
I am. All right, if you were a moderator, what question would you ask?
Oh, that's a totally off the cuff.
I know, but it just came to me. I'm like, what if Phil Williams was the moderator?
Well, I think we could go down several roads. There's the provocateur type questions.
Yeah.
I could say things like, if indeed you are elected because Trump was convicted, would you pardon Donald Trump?
Oh, man.
That just comes to me right now.
Let's do it.
Okay. And I think the other thing I would say is, are you going to be actually putting a plan in place for any additional, if any, aid to Ukraine? Because there's no plan right now. There's like, how many checks you want us to write? You know? And then I think the next thing I would ask is, what are you going to do in the immediate short term to get us back to energy independence?
I like it.
Just
you would have fun doing that, wouldn't you?
Make me a moderator, man.
Do it.
Megyn Kelly, I'll show her that, ask her questions. All right, but no, if they call, I'll do it. How about that?
All right.
All right, I'm putting it out there. If they call me, I'll do it. Just saying. Call John Wall. Tell him I'll do it.
All right.
All right. Wes from Huntsville says, you got to remember that most churches do not preach truth anymore. The days of conviction from a preacher's message are done. Preachers now are more concerned with embracing love and acceptance versus calling sin a sin. Okay, Wes, I'm going to have to disagree with you, man. I don't think that's true. I know there are churches that do. I mean, I've seen pride flags in front of churches, especially when I was traveling up north seeing family. But I do not think that's true. I think the vast majority of pastors are still preaching truth in the pulpit, but they just don't get out there and speak truth to power when the time comes. And that's what we need. We need them to get out of the pulpit once in a while and get into the public square and say, hey, on behalf of us, that right there is wrong. Morgan from Fort Myers Morgan Fort Myers in Florida. Sadly, I believe Christianity is becoming more about filling the pews on the collection plate than it is about saving souls and ministering to the needs of the congregation. I look forward to getting up there and enjoying some of this weather I keep hearing you talk about during Thanksgiving week. And go Ducks. Morgan, come on back. We look forward to having you back here. But listen, don't become disenfranchised. I go to church every week, and I don't feel like I am not hearing truth from my pastor. And I also don't feel like I am hearing pass the plate because we just want your money and we want more, people sitting in the seats. So for what it's worth, from a guy who attends regularly and is an active member of his own church, same church Boomer goes to, I just don't feel that that's the thing, man. And I do not want to say what I said a moment ago as an indictment upon the church as a whole. What I'm just saying is we just need you. We need you to speak out. We need you to use the platform God's given you. John from Huntsville, Phil, fantastic monologue. Just wondering if you filled out your football pick'ems yet. No, I haven't, but I'm going to. And Ronnie from Athens, no way I could picture my grandkids right now having that happen to them. Okay. All right. Wow. Oh, he says, I missed the first part. He says, I became a father at 16. I got married at 17, been married ever since. Okay. Yeah. And then he says, no way I can picture my grandkids. Okay. I got you. Ronnie, thanks, man. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Y'all just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here. I'm talking about Alabama. I mean it when I say it. I love living here. Listen, we go way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, even Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. All right, you know the deal. I mean, we can get so caught up in what is happening in other parts of the world, what is happening in D.C., what is happening on some grand scale, that we forget that sometimes what happens in our backyard means just as much to our daily lives. And it's important to also keep track of what's happening in and around and amongst you. So that being said, every once in a while, we got to cook up a batch of what I call home fries. Yeah. Sizzle them right on up there. Smelling good. All right, so home fries, things that are happening around the state of Alabama or related to Alabama, just know this. Earlier it was mentioned that we are indeed going to have the next presidential primary debate for the Republican Party right here in the heart of Dixie. Sweet Home, Alabama is going to host the presidential primary debate with whoever's left standing on stage. It's going to be a winnowed down crowd, I believe. But Yellowhammer News, story by Grayson Everett, announces as of yesterday that SiriusXM host Megyn Kelly, News Nation's Elizabeth Vargas, and the Washington Free Beacon's Eliana Johnson have been named as the moderators. It's 3 women, Boomer. I think they need me in there. They need me to get in there and like mix it up.
Absolutely.
They do. This is discrimination.
Yeah, they need a Phil Williams in there.
They, by golly, need a right side ruffian dude. Yeah. They need a dude in there anyway. But no, those are great. Those 3 great hosts, moderators. They have been named moderators for the presidential primary debate in Tuscaloosa. With less than a year out from the election day, the 4th debate stage will showcase our winning Republican agenda against Biden's record of failure, says Ronna McDaniel. Yeah, well, okay. Ronna, thanks for what you do. ALGOP chairman, though, John Wall, called this shot this summer in an interview with the Yellowhammer News, saying that Alabama is a great state to showcase. He said, we're a Super Tuesday state, we're a deep red state, and we're a state that really showcases the citizenship that Republican candidates should be going after. A lot of issues that we're seeing have the biggest impact on the national stage are also the ones that are most important to the people of Alabama. So here's the bottom line. It's unconfirmed where on campus it'll be. You can imagine there's only a few venues that might be big enough. But I suspect it will be in one of the major theaters, or for that matter, in the basketball gym. I don't know the arena. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, by the way, the qualifications to be on stage, they're making it tighter and tighter, right? So to qualify to be on the stage for the last one, you got to have at least 80,000, they call them unique donors. That means 80,000 people have sent a contribution in that are all separate and distinct from each other. You can't just have like one big super PAC or you funded it yourself because you're a billionaire. You got to have 6% support in 2 approved national polls, or 6% in 1 poll from 2 separate early voting states. Anyway, what I suspect is going to wind up happening, I'm going to bet in the next 20 days or so, we're probably going to see a few of the what I would call also-ran candidates drop off. I don't know if Tim Scott will, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I would think that Chris Christie would likely drop out of the race. I also cannot imagine that Tim Scott's going to stay in much longer, but I could see him dropping out and endorsing somebody. And if he does, I bet he's going to either endorse Nikki Haley because they're both from South Carolina, or he's going to endorse Ron DeSantis. We'll see. I take it back. You know what? Now that I'm saying that, I'm pretending that Trump's not there. He just doesn't get on the debate stage. But yeah, they may well endorse Trump. Anyway, I think we're going to see a field of about 3, and if Trump joins them, 4. And that'll be maybe Trump, DeSantis, Ramaswamy, and Haley. I think that's where we're going to have the last people standing. All right, that's coming up pretty soon. Keep your eyes on it. And when I hear about ticket sales, I'll let you know. Had somebody ask me yesterday. Here's one for you. Home fries. Here's one. We keep talking about Birmingham Southern. Birmingham Southern, just about to the point of bankruptcy, insolvency, begging for a handout from the state government, begging for taxpayer dollars to rescue them from their own inability to manage their affairs. And yeah, I'm being rough because that's the case. I mean, it's true. It really kind of galls me, and I don't blame them for trying, but it really galls me that we're looking at a private college that by its own admission messed up its accounting and overspent in its endowment on things that it didn't need, like major landscaping and construction projects. And then they came back and begged for $30 million in taxpayer money. I think it was 45 at first. Then it got down to 30. And anyway, oh, look, they're finding new resources. How did that happen? Story here just broke, and I appreciate Amy from Rainbow City pointing this out to me. She sent it to me earlier in the day. The United Methodist Conference of North Alabama. So keep in mind, Sanford is, I believe, a Methodist university, isn't it? Not Sanford, but Birmingham Southern is a Methodist college, and they are part then, I guess, of the United Methodist Conference for North Alabama. Anyway, the UMCNA just came out to last night, actually, and said that in their most recent board meeting that they would approve a $2.5 million loan to Birmingham Southern, but only if the city of Birmingham provides an equal or greater than amount in a loan or donation to Birmingham Southern. In doing so, they will agree to do it as a second mortgage on the campus with interest at a competitive rate, with the note being a one-year note. So funny how that works out. When suddenly you can't get the taxpayer bailout, you turn around and, oh, look, some of the people that are allegedly supposed to be part of your network are willing to go, okay, all right, we'll do something. Now, they're not doing 30 mil, but they're doing 2.5, and it's 2.5 million they didn't have. Anyway, it clearly indicates that there were other methods available to them. They were just not pursuing them. Okay. Do I want this article next? I'll hang on to that one. I'm just talking to myself. Never mind me, just working my way through my stack. So as we do home fries, by the way, keep in mind, Secretary of State Wes Allen calling in about 20 minutes. This Congressional District 2, I mean, how many times have we talked about this? Congressional District 2 is the brand spanking new, fresh out of the box congressional district that we've never had drawn this way before because the court got involved and decided that Alabama's legislature just couldn't do its job, even though I disagree. They didn't ask me. But the reality is this: we've got a Congressional District 2 that is technically an open seat because Barry Moore, who is currently the congressman for District 2, got drawn out of his own district by the court, which is just, to me, galling. And so Barry Moore decided what he was going to do was go run against another incumbent, Jerry Carl, to be in Congressional District 1. So 2 is wide open. 2 is wide open, and all God's children now are going to run for it. Today's the last day of qualifying. And all y'all going to run for it, apparently. I mean, and there's people, I'm thinking, who else wants to run? Boomer, you want to run for Congressional District 2?
I mean, everybody is, right?
I'll help you get down there and pay the fees. Let's get Boomer for Congress.
Boomer for Congress.
I like it. Well, so story here, you may be interested to know because he's right here in this listening area, Anthony Daniels. And I like Anthony Daniels a lot. He's probably one of my favorite Democrats in the state, but I think he's just a great guy. Anyway, Anthony Daniels, who represents a big swath of Huntsville, has announced that he'll be running for Congressional District 2. Y'all, that's down in Montgomery and, Bullitt County and, the Black Belt area around in the sort of the lower middle section. This is not where he lives, is what I'm trying to say. But he's going there. Now, the thing about Anthony Daniels in this case, though, and why it makes sense in a way, first of all, the law does not require you in Alabama to live in the congressional district that you are serving or running in. But he's from there. So he lives in Huntsville now, has lived in Huntsville for quite a while, has represented Huntsville in the State House for quite a while. But he grew up in Bullitt County. Here's his quote. He says he graduated from Bullitt County High School. He says, at the end of the day, tell me another candidate with roots in Union Springs or any other rural area or in the district that's talking about running. There's not a candidate out there that has the understanding and the knowledge and the experience that I've had growing up in Bullitt County. Bullitt County has, as of a year or two, the second highest increase in poverty in the United States of America. Wow. Do you think I like seeing those stats? No, not at all. Look at all those rural communities that are in a similar category. I'm not going to stand for that. A district that is rural and urban deserves a person that understands rural and urban. Okay. Anthony Daniels, I think, just became, in my opinion, probably the most qualified Democrat to run for the race. However, we do have State Senator Greg Albritton, Republican from Atmore, does not live in the district. State Senator Dick Brubaker, former State Senator Dick Brubaker, who was on the show a couple days ago from Montgomery, he does live in the district. An attorney that I don't know named Caroline Dobson, a Republican, also from Montgomery. So 2 out of the 3 Republicans live in the district, 1 doesn't. And of the Democrats, we also have, and oh boy, this is going to be fun, Wandalyn Gavan. Y'all, she's supposed to make her announcement today. She may have already made it. Here's my question is, what color hair was she going to have today for her announcement? Did I go there? I did. This is the most flamboyant, race-baiting, activist, mouthiest person in the Alabama state legislature, period. This is the person who not long ago referred to the only black Republican in the state House as basically referred to him with the N-word from the podium in the House, and there was calls for censure of her. This is the woman who, if there's an activist moment that you can imagine on the state House floor, it's usually got her attached to it somehow. I have watched her go down there in the floor, the well of the House, and just begin yelling to the point that the speaker at the time, Mac McCutcheon, had to bang the gavel and call for order with her yelling, "I'm going to burn this place down." Well, you know what? That's who's running for Congress now. Representative Wandalyn Gavan. She's an attorney and a member of the House of Representatives since 2010, said in a phone interview that she intended to be an advocate for the district, which runs across Alabama's Black Belt from Mississippi border to the Georgia line. She says, the people that deserve to have their voices heard, I will be a vessel. Oh, apparently there are only certain people that she believes deserve to have their voices heard. Wording is everything. Your quote is now memorialized. The people that deserve to have their voices heard, she says, I'll be a vessel for those whose voices cannot be heard. There's a need for new, fresh, progressive leadership in Alabama. What she's trying to say there is, Terry Sewell, you ain't getting it done. I'm going to come down there and be the loud one. She wants, I can tell you right now, she wants so bad to be the next member of the squad. That's what she wants. Yeah, and oh, by the way, if you think Cori Bush and you know, AOC and some of the other members of the squad are flamboyant, I just listen. I don't know if they have anything on Wandalyn Gavan. This is going to be a hoot, y'all, a hoot. All right, we're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back. We're cooking up some home fries. When we get right back, I'll tell you, there are some of y'all that won't be paying as much tax this year. Pray tell, what does this mean? I'll tell you. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right. Y'all, I am just saying, making common sense like a superpower up in here. By the way, Boomer, I tell you what, before you hit that sound effect, let me just make sure you know, we may have opened up something.
Oh no, what's that?
Raven from Russell says, I'm writing in Boomer for District 2. Let's get that going. He says, Boomer for Congress. Has a ring to it, doesn't it? He says.
Has a nice ring to it.
Nice ring to it. Boomer.
Boomer for Congress.
I want a sign in my yard. John from Huntsville says, anyway, John's sending you jokes now. So let me move on. Okay. I tell you what, we're going to continue cooking up a batch of home fries. Yeah. Can't you just smell them from where you are? This is by the way, this is an Anthony Daniels story. It just dawned on me. Apparently, I am promoting the campaign of Anthony Daniels. But yeah, so you may recall that we actually had Anthony Daniels, Representative Anthony Daniels, minority leader in the state house, in the studio, or not in the studio, but on the phone. Oh gosh, it's been 6 months ago. Did a great job. Some of y'all were surprised. You were texting in saying, "Are you sure he's a Democrat?" Because he was calling for a tax cut and encouraging people to get back to work and trying to encourage productivity through work. And I thought, well, that's cool. So we had him on. Well, the deal was he had the idea, which I don't know that anybody else has had this idea, that if you can encourage people to work and to work more and to encourage employers to encourage their employees to work more, how could you do it? Well, one of the first things that he thought of, and it's now the law, is to do away with any state payroll tax on overtime hours. I mean, it's not going to be a huge dent to the state. It's like a $45 million a year dent to the revenues of the state. And we got a multi-billion dollar annual budget. But it means something to the individual. So basically, what it means is, in effect, the law means a 5% pay raise on work that you do over 40 hours a week for full-time hourly employees. And that's so basically if you're working at a clock in, clock out job, and you decide, you're like, I don't feel like staying an extra hour or three. The boss keeps asking me, can I do some overtime? Think about this. It's 5% more for you now if you do. And what Daniels was saying and what the legislature agreed with was this is a great way to encourage productivity. It's a great way to say, hey, look, some of our businesses are getting back on their feet post-COVID, and in the economy we're in, we need more people. We can't find them all. Maybe they need you to work overtime. If you'll work overtime, the state of Alabama is going to say, we won't tax you on that. I think that's pretty cool. So anyway, that takes effect January 1. So story here on AL.com, one of the few times that I'll go to AL.com lately, says starting January 1, full-time hourly workers in Alabama will pay no state income tax on the overtime pay, defined as any work in excess of 40 hours in a week. State officials gathered together at the Hyundai Auto Assembly plant in Montgomery on Thursday to commemorate the new law, which was the result of a bill sponsored by House Minority Leader Anthony Daniels, Democrat from Huntsville. In effect, it says the law means a 5% raise on pay for work over 40 hours a week for full-time hourly employees, because that's the state income tax rate. Anyway, the Business Council of Alabama came out there and, trumpeted it, and others, and John Barganier, who I remember from days back in the legislature, he's now the president and CEO of Manufacture Alabama. Anyway, they are pretty stoked. So January 1, work overtime, get paid more. This one, I don't have more details. I almost didn't bring the story because to me it's not rounded out yet. But the Trustful Tribune, for whom the publisher is our good friend Scott Buttram, Trustful Tribune is reporting that the mayor of Huntsville, which is over there in Coleman County, the mayor of Huntsville was just indicted day before last on 15 counts of using his office for personal gain. And the interesting thing is they don't give you details on what the charges are. In fact, it even says the charges are not, the actual charges are not available at this time. The DA even said he's limited what he can say at this point, but he's asking for others who may have information to come forward if they need to, because the indictment, apparently whatever the grand jury saw, was enough. And so Mayor Kenneth Nail, the mayor of Huntsville over in Coleman County, indicted on 15 counts of using his office for personal gain. All right, we're coming right back after this break here in a minute, and we're going to have one of our elected officials, Secretary of State, Wes Allen, who is going to be on with us talking about several things related to elections. One of which is we've got a story right here from 1819 News about how his office is taking a creative approach to trying to get away from the old school, very difficult means of determining when they draw the new lines, which a lot of new lines have been drawn, where people live. Can we tell? Well, we can tell if we look at, GPS systems and GIS mapping and that kind of thing. And so, with a grant, we've got GIS mapping capability now in all 67 counties, trying to make sure that we get people voting in the right spots and knowing where they are. But then secondarily, I want to ask him about this story that came out. Did you hear about the fact that there have been election officials in multiple states who received fentanyl-laced envelopes in the mail? So we'll talk to him about that. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. Be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the news. And like the guy just said a moment ago, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome back to hour number 2. And we've been cooking up a batch of home fries. Yeah, got to keep track of the news that happens right here in your own backyard. Well, some of the stories that I've got right now led me to want to reach out to Alabama's Secretary of State, Wes Allen, and get some perspective from him in his position. Secretary of State Wes Allen started as a probate judge, which made him the chief election officer for his county, then served in the Alabama House of Representatives and is now serving as our Secretary of State, which also, by the way, among all the other things that a Secretary of State does, makes him the chief election officer for the entire state. So without further ado, let me welcome him back to the show, Secretary of State Wes Allen. How are you?
I'm good, Senator. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thanks for making time. In fact, I just told you off the air, it dawned on me that I asked you to come on a day when state government is closed for Veterans Day, and so here you are on your day off.
Well, no problem at all, and proud that you thought enough of me to ask me on, and just humbled to come on the air with you. Thank you so much.
Well, good enough. Or maybe it's just because I figured I was working, I figured you ought to work. How about that?
That's right. Hey, no problem there. We're all, you know me, man. Yeah, we'll work.
Hey, listen, I want to ask you, so as an attorney and as a local, Republican and former chairman of my county, Etowah County, there's a story out on 1819 News today that referencing Etowah and Lauderdale counties both having a lot of trouble with getting their districts realigned and everything near the last, because people are out there using old school technology. Your office has now taken advantage of some opportunities through federal source grants that allow you to use GIS mapping. So tell us what's going on and what you're doing to make sure people are living in the right district.
Well, Senator, we remember that issue back in the primary of 2022, and of course those two counties that you highlighted, Etowah and Lauderdale. And when we got into office in January, and we were sitting down about what we needed to be doing to strengthen our election offices around the state, those 67 counties and boards of registrars, and how we could support them and our local election officials around the state. One of the things that came up was this issue, and some were using paper mapping and pencils, and no software at all as it pertained to mapping and precincts and districts and making sure people were in the right precinct. So it was important, and through the federal funding, through the Help America Vote Act, I don't know if you remember that or not, but after what happened in Florida in 2000, the Bush-Gore days, the Congress passed Help America Vote Act, which helped with some federal funding to all 50 states to help with election administration. And so every 2 years, that federal funding comes to all 50 states, and of course we get some of that. And we wanted to put that money to good use with GIS software, geological information software, which is a mapping software system that helps make sure that the voters and the taxpayers are in the correct district, in the correct precinct when the maps get passed by the House of Representatives and Senate in the state down in Montgomery, or your county commission when they pass their their maps for different county commission seats, or your city council even when they have their districts in these local municipalities. And so we just want to make sure that these counties have the most up-to-date software, and we made it available. It's a little over $1.1 million that we made available to the counties that didn't already have it, and of course we made it available to pick up to counties that did have it to help supplement what they've already been employing, and for the installation and then 2 years of maintenance on this software program, and we've been working very, very hard with these counties and getting it implemented, and seeing some good results, and very, very proud of this program.
Well, I think that's huge, and I've said it on the show before. I maybe even told you that stuff that I dealt with in Etowah County was not just the elections that were messed up. I actually represented a lady who lost her city council race by 1 vote. I represented her as an attorney, and we challenged it because there were 9 provisional ballots that had been rejected that we were able to prove should have been counted, and it was and listen, I mean, and I know you see it everywhere, but I mean, there are people whose on one side of the street you voted in one district, on the other side of the street you voted in another. There were some people whose property lines were split, and there was one in there that their house was actually split by the district line, and it was just kind of crazy. But but what you're doing right now is absolutely necessary, so people know where to go vote, and so every vote counts.
Well, in utilizing GIS for voter district assignment and precinct assignments is, highly accurate and when compared to paper mapping and drawing, and we're proud to utilize these funds to, assist our local election officials in the cause. Security and accuracy of our elections depend on it. And, when a voter walks in the precinct, they've got to have confidence in the process, and we want to make sure that they have confidence when they get that ballot. It's the correct ballot for where they live, and they're voting for the right person, that that's going to be representing them. So it's important, and we just think it's a win for Alabama.
And so you'll have it all ready for the next election cycle, you think, by the time we get into, really primary seasons coming up?
Well, when we kicked this program off, and we're talking about it early on in February, it was probably going to be a couple years to onboard every county that didn't have it. So what we're concentrating on now is those counties. We got that court-ordered, imposed new congressional map on us. So we had 6 splits, or 6 counties that were split in that court-ordered map that we've got. So we're working with those counties that didn't have any GIS services or software, but we've been working with them first to make sure, we can give them the software and get it implemented, get them trained, and to make sure that the voters are in the correct precinct and the correct districts. And so we'll work our way out from there. But we feel, I think we're ahead of schedule actually, and we feel confident that the next year or two we'll have everybody onboarded. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's good. You're just basically triaging right now which one needs to go first. So
right, because that court-ordered congressional map got give to us. Let's see, when was it? October 5th or 6th. Or so
very late.
Yeah, we've been working hard. Yeah.
Well, hey, let me switch gears on you. You mentioned security and accuracy. All right, let's talk about security for a minute. This is a segue here, but there's a story that broke yesterday afternoon. I've got a copy of one of them from AP right here, that there are multiple states, Georgia being one, in which envelopes, some of which were known to be laced with fentanyl, have been mailed to election officials. And so I just wonder if you've talked to anybody else in other states about concerns. Is there any kind of an alert that you're putting out for people to watch for things? How are you handling this, and what do you think's going on, and how do you see it?
Yeah, we got alerted to this yesterday by the FBI and our federal law enforcement partners. And, of course, there's been 5 states or so, Atlanta, Georgia, Las Vegas, Nevada, Los Angeles, California, Seattle, Portland, Oregon, and then Sacramento, I think, is what we initially heard. Of course, I just heard or just saw a few minutes ago, Secretary Raffensperger in Georgia said that the federal law enforcement partners intercepted a letter over there that was headed to the Fulton County local election officials. So, it's we just got to remain vigilant, and we have alerted our staff, we've alerted local election staff around the state that election offices in certain parts of the country were being mailed letters containing those traces of fentanyl, but we've not received any reports of this taking place in Alabama. But the United States Postal Service is working very, very hard to intercept any potential inbound letters, and it's a serious situation. But we're not going to let this intimidate us, and we're going to make sure we stay in constant communication and constant contact with our local election officials around the state, those probate judges, circuit clerks, sheriffs, and boards of registrars.
Well, good deal. So at this point, though, nothing in Alabama that you're aware of? No,
sir. Have not heard a word. Not heard a word. Mm-mm.
All right. Well, I appreciate you making time. Veterans Day weekend, you want to add anything on that?
Well, thank you for your service, Senator. It's we could not enjoy the freedoms that we have, and if it were not for you and many others like you, and just appreciate those that stand in defense of our country and our Constitution, and it's something that we've got to be passing on to our kids and our grandkids, and how important it is. And just hope everybody within the sound of our voice takes a moment to really understand and to reflect on those men and women that have answered the call and served our country. And I'm so appreciative to those individuals.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Secretary, we appreciate you making time for us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day off. But thanks again for calling into Right Side Radio.
Well, thank you, Senator, and appreciate you, and y'all take care, okay?
All right, take care now. That's Alabama's Secretary of State, Wes Allen, wrapping up the home fries section for us. And y'all stay tuned. We'll take a break right now. We'll come right back. Going to spend a little time taking some text messages and then diving right in to talk about some cacistocracy, government run by the least competent of its citizens. Cacistocracy. Look it up. Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just, making it so cool to be a conservative. I'm just saying. Man, I got a ton of text messages, so I'm going to catch it. Wow. I have to keep scrolling down to find them all. JT from Lacey Springs, talking about the debates again a little while ago. He says, what did he say? Since Trump likely won't be in the debate, he should be the one of the moderators. Oh, that would be a hoot. I just don't see that being the thing. Neat idea, JT, but I don't think it's going to work. Craig from Huntsville says, I've got to be, I don't know where he's going here. Oh, he doesn't like me saying chicks and dudes. Okay, he says off topic, but it's a long text, so I got to kind of scan ahead. It's off topic, but a heads up, I've been listening regularly for some time because I'm remodeling bathrooms and bedrooms in my house. My wife's not a fan. She thinks you try a bit too hard to be hip, like saying things like chicks and dudes. Was the last straw. She asked me to turn you off. Okay, well, just so you know, it says chicks and dudes on the bathroom doors at our office here. And that's just the way I talk. Tell your wife I apologize, but I'm pretty sure most of Ruffian land is still okay. He said, she most certainly is a woman of dignity and character, so I did not contradict her and turns you off, but you be you, but be aware your shtick might not be universally popular. If I was desirous of being universally popular, Craig, I would not be in radio. Thank you very much. Wiley from Gunnersville. On the Birmingham Southern overspending, it would be interesting to see the names of those persons or entities that receive that money. As always, just follow the money. Yeah, no kidding. Raven for Russellville, I already said he's writing you in for Congressional District 2, Boomer. We know that one. That's happening, man. That's a thing. That's a thing. Okay. Joe from Birmingham says, I'm glad I took the red pill. Go God, go USA, go Vets. That's right. Joe in Birmingham. Thank you, Joe. Marie from Madison. Okay. Marie sent me a long text. Marie, I have to come back to it because I'm not even sure I can read that one and still have time for the rest of the show. Let me get back to it. John from Brownsboro. So Birmingham Southern is going to leverage their entire campus for $2.5 million on a one-year note. If they had that to spare, since I don't think they're going to give away the whole campus, but there will definitely be a lien against it. If they had that to spare, since they've been asking for a loan, they wouldn't need the $2.5 million. If they take that deal or whatever the city wished to throw in, sounds like 6 months of solvency to shake out as much as they can, skim off the top before bankruptcy. I agree. If they say they needed 30 mils, 2.5 is like, well, thank you for participating, but it's not going to be the thing. Anyway, Donna from Coleman. Kenneth Nail was using his office. Donna from Coleman. This is the mayor of Huntsville thing. Kenneth Nail was using his office for personal gain. A policeman and a city employee did some favors for him around his home. Huntsville News Channel reported this. Wow. Okay. Yep, not a good idea. Chef Ben from Aniana. Chef Ben, appreciate you. Says, thank you for your service, Colonel. Thank you, Chef Ben. I appreciate you very much. And then Boomer, what are we getting here from? Are you getting jokes from John from Huntsville? Is that what's happening? You and John are corresponding back and forth? Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he says, keep up the good work. You could be today's winner.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
All right. Hey, listen, here in just a minute, we're going to come back and jump into kakistocracy. It's a real word. If you play Scrabble, this might be the one you might win on because it's kakistocracy, Kakistocracy. Kakistocracy. So it's a government. That's the definition, a government run by the least competent of its citizens. And I'll tell you what was funny was one day my very mild-mannered secretary, I walked in and she just handed me a sticky note and it had the word kakistocracy laid on it. She goes, here's a word you need for the show. And I don't know where she got it. I need to ask her how she came across this, but her contribution has now become a regular thing. Like kakistocracy gets talked about all the time on this show. And in fact, a lot of us have learned that's a real word, and I hear people repeating it. In fact, Boomer, we probably need T-shirts that say kakistocracy on it. That's what we need.
Just giant, yes.
Do it like a definition, like from a dictionary with the little, pronunciations, and then the
kakistocracy.
I see that as a T-shirt.
I like it.
I do, from the Ruffian Dictionary. Just saying. Before the break here, I'll tell you too, by the way, just so you know, Raven from Russellville just chimed in and says he also wants to be your security on the campaign trail. Boomer, that's you.
On my campaign trail.
Yeah, on your campaign trail. He'll be your security. Awesome. Just saying.
I mean, that's cool to have security.
I'm pretty sure Raven could cover down.
Yeah, definitely.
He'll get your 12 and your 6.
Yes.
Brandy from Owens Crossroads, thank you for your service. Phil Williams from the Spore family. Thank you very much. Brandy, I appreciate that very much out there in Owens Crossroads. It's a beautiful country. All right, listen. I'm gonna come right back and dive right into kakistocracy. And when I do, listen, just so you know, I don't want you to be scared or anything, but you may need to know that climate change, well, all those jack-o'-lanterns that were used on Halloween, they contribute to climate change. It's where we are, folks. It's just where we are. What about the federal agency? Which federal agency was it that actually played a role in a high school club raising money to help gender transition students behind their parents' back? Oh yeah, kakistocracy. Or how about this one? We've got plenty of stuff in the stack right here about things like, I don't know, Republicans demanding answers after they find out that a top Biden official invited representatives of the Chinese government to go one of our sensitive nuclear sites. Well, that makes sense. Wouldn't that just mean that we have a kakistocracy? Just saying. Lots of stuff, because there's lots of kakistocracy. Chicks and dudes. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. This one right here filled up with chicks and dudes. I mean, I'm talking about y'all. We go like way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. By the way, you hear the ads playing during the break. When you hear those ads playing, just know this. Rightside Radio, we are a standalone entity. We are a business unto ourselves. The radio stations you listen to us on, they don't own our content or us at all for that matter. We actually send them our show. Well, part of the way we sustain operations, like many other businesses, got to have a revenue stream, right, is by selling ads. So if you listen to this show and you're thinking, well, those guys got it going on. I mean, they sound like me. They talk like me. I agree with what they're saying. And there's a whole bunch of like right side ruffians out there that probably believe like y'all do and may want to buy your goods and services. Well, then you may want to advertise on Rightside Radio. And we would love to have you on the team. So here's the deal. You can't call the station and do that. You got to contact us directly. So you go to our website, rightsideradio.org. That's rightsideradio.org. Click on the advertising and contact tab. And then, send us a message. We will get back to you right away. We would love to talk to you about being on the Right Side team. That's rightsideradio.org. Send us a message. Brian from Huntsville just cracked us up during the break. He says, regarding the input I got a moment ago that says, you got to stop talking so hip like chicks and dudes that, the guy's wife wanted him to turn off the station. He says, if the wife ever tells me to shut off your show over chicks and dudes, she has to give up the Hallmark Channel first.
That's good.
You got to admit that's hilarious.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hallmark Channel.
I am pretty sure.
Especially during the holiday season. Oh, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of women out there that, don't take their Hallmark Channel during the, pry that remote from their cold, dead fingers in the in the holiday season.
Hallmark Channel.
You watch Hallmark movies, remember?
Only when they're on, and I'm not allowed to change the channel.
Like you walk in and she's already watching it. What do you do?
Yeah. I just go find another TV.
That's exactly right.
And just go outside.
usually I can, and you know the deal. I know you do. You can walk in the room. You don't even know what channel it's on. You can look at the movie, and all you have to do is within 10 seconds, you look at her and go, "It's a Hallmark Channel."
You know it.
There's something about the cinematography. There's something about the sets. Yeah. And there's something about the kind of, shiny, happy people that are in all the movies. And
you just know.
You just do.
Just know.
And I guarantee you, too, while I'm waxing about this, I guarantee you that we can almost outline the script for every movie.
Oh, absolutely. You can totally outline the script for every Hallmark movie.
All right, let's do it. You ready? So
it's a big city, like a big city girl.
There it is. Big city girl comes home to small town where she's from.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a country guy that maybe has a really failing farm and produce stand.
But they dated in high school.
So they rekindled it.
And she's bumping back from a bad relationship in the big city.
Yeah, and you know what? He's having a really hard time, and he doesn't know how to market his produce. But that's what she did in the big city. That's what she did in the big city. Yeah, exactly.
And so she helps him with their business.
Yeah, and then then something goes wrong. But magically they figure it out at the end.
And by the way, they realize how much they enjoy each other's company.
And they figure out, you know what? We can make this work. And she wants to stay there with him.
And somewhere in there has to be either a local pageant or a parade or a local ice skating rink
that they
have for the holidays.
Yes.
Exactly.
There it is.
I'm just saying. Or a community festival where they share apple pie.
Oh, man. There it is. We just made it up.
If that's not like every other Hallmark movie, I don't know what is.
And you know what? It's just a feel good. It's just feel good.
You and I are going to be in so much trouble when we get home.
Oh, man. I hope McQueen's not listening.
This is why you have TVs in the house. You got chicks and dude TVs. That's right. Okay. Last couple of texts before I jump into the Cacostocracy. Raven from Russellville just wants you to know, maybe you could get an endorsement from Taylor Swift, he says.
Oh, man.
If the Swifties back you.
If I got the Swifties, I'm all in. There we go.
You got Raven for a bodyguard. You got me putting signs in my yard, and the Swifties back you.
Oh, man.
Just all right. This could be a thing. John from Huntsville just chimed in again. He says, Brian from Huntsville is now in the lead. Nice. Francisco from Huntsville says, Colonel, thank you and all the men and women who serve and have served. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for that, Francisco. I appreciate that very much. Blessings on you. Scott from Boaz says, knowing the stance the United Methodists took that caused a major split in their church, wouldn't taking a loan from them be akin to making a deal with the devil? Well, I guess it depends on which ones I don't know. I don't think so, Scott. But anyway, wow. Anyway, JT from Lacey Springs also said, don't forget the jealous friend in the Hallmark. That's right. There's got to be a jealous friend.
That's right. Always the jealous
Always the jealous friend. All right. JT has watched apparently a few Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
Apparently you and I have too. We shall not speak of this again. Kakistocracy. So a kakistocracy is actually defined in the dictionary. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but it is roughly this: a government run by the least competent of its citizens. Does that feel like where we are right now? I challenge you to tell me otherwise. It feels a lot like where we are right now. Well, just so you know, CNN feels so emboldened right now by the current attitude and leadership of the kakistocracy under which we are currently, held hostage. They came out and wanted to warn us in a story that came out on theblaze.com yesterday. CNN warned about the dangerous effects on climate change that pumpkins, more specifically jack-o'-lanterns, can have due to their methane and water levels. This is right up there, in my opinion, with cow farts.
It is.
Just saying. If you're gonna worry about pumpkins, then you're probably the person who puts diapers on a cow. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Quote is that more than 1 billion pounds of pumpkins are grown in the U.S. every year, the network's report began, before it warned that millions of pumpkins also end up in landfills after Halloween. The report leaned on commentary from Beverly Jazkarowski, CEO of a group called Scarce. It's an environmental group that focuses on recycling and reusing. Her concern, Jazkarowski says, quote, pumpkins are about 90% water, and then that water gets trapped in the landfill and we never get it back. What?
Who knows?
I just read that. It's in print right there. CNN's report noted, however, that even when decomposing, the pumpkins still produce too much methane. I'm saying, it's like cow farts and pumpkins now. Which the report says warms the atmosphere to the same extent as carbon dioxide, but in a shorter amount of time. It's a big cause of climate change, CNN claims. That's a quote. It's a big cause of climate change. Right there. Go check it out on theblaze.com. Anyway, the reason why I pulled this one was not just because of the inflammatory remarks of CNN, but because the article then tied right into the fact that in the kakistocracy, at both the local, the state, and the national level, this is the attitude that we're seeing. They quickly go on in the same article to say, climate change legislation as a means to implement regulations has been on the rise. Yes, indeed, it has. They point out in August of 2023, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu announced that she was then banning fossil fuels in city-owned buildings after teaming up with the city's director of the Green New Deal. They have a city director of the Green New Deal?
They're just throwing.
That's the Green New Steel. That's what that is. The following month, the mayor declared a heat emergency at 86 degrees. 86 degrees. She's never lived in Alabama. I'm pretty sure you can be down here and it can be 86 degrees with a heat cap of something like 109 with 98% humidity.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Panama ain't got nothing on us.
Yeah.
The following month, that same mayor declared that heat emergency 86 degrees, noting that the impacts of climate change are more palpable than ever, with extreme heat posing risks to our communities. Whatever. Anyway, then it pointed out Vice President Kamala Harris, the cackler, as number 2 position in the kakistocracy in D.C. Says Vice President Kamala Harris has noted multiple times that the Biden administration has done exemplary work on climate change. Yeah. But has blamed a lack of voter awareness for their poor approval ratings. In other words, people out there just aren't smart enough to recognize the good things that we're doing for them, said the kakistocracy.
Of course, that's what they're saying. Of course.
That's exactly. If you poll how young people feel, she says, about the climate and the warming of our planet, it polls as one of their top concerns. When we talk about what we're doing with student loan debt, well, it polls very high. The challenge is we got to let people know who brung it to them. Whatever. Kakistocracy. Well, a kakistocracy run by the least competent of its citizens, bleeds over into all manner of ways, like this one. This one right here. This one is galling. All right, so that last one is an eye roller, right? And every once in a while you get those eye rollers, and then you get the ones that make you want to throw your radio across the room. Daily Wire. Dateline yesterday. The federal government is funding gender activist nonprofits that are pushing local school districts to the left on the issue of gender activism, like helping kids transition without their parents knowing, including in one case where members of an Illinois high school's, quote, diversity club raised money for chest binders to help peers gender transition against their parents' wishes, records show. So yeah, according to the article here, it's a place called, it's Waterloo High School in, oh gosh, where are they? In Illinois. Maggie Partapio is the teacher who was the sponsor for the diversity club. She emailed a journalist with a list of requests hoping to get publicity for her club with text messages about things they needed. And the first request was to, quote, maybe try to raise money for kids who want binders but can't ask their parents, like if their mother or father or their parents are homophobic or transphobic, end quote. In other words, their parents don't want to buy them chest binders, so maybe we should, said the teacher who has no boundaries. Later that school year, in March of 22, Partapio then attended a quarterly GSA advisor meetup where she shared that a few of her trans students aren't able to get binders at home due to their parents. And at a recent diversity club meeting, a few other students pulled together the money to buy binders for trans students, and now she isn't quite sure what to do. So what happened? VISTA, which is also known as AmeriCorps, which is funded by the U.S. government, offered to help pay for young people to work for humanitarian nonprofits, stepped in to assist with the funds necessary to get chest binders through the Illinois Safe School Alliance program. I'm just telling you, folks, if we don't have a kakistocracy right now, I don't know what is. The very idea that what we're looking at here is a government-funded organization that then helps people do things like, oh, I don't know, lie to the parents and do things like helping a kid transition. If that's not kakistocracy, then tell me what is. All right, listen, we're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back. Kakistocracy continues. Texts are coming in already. If you want to text it or call it, same number for both, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Y'all stay tuned. We will be right back. We are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just making common sense like a superpower up here. Hey, by the way, I'm looking up on the screen, one of the screens here on the studio wall. Gary Sinise has got a new book out called Grateful American, A Journey from Self to Service. And I tell you what, if there's anybody out there who has done something for veterans, it's that guy. I mean, he has been supporting troops, and with the Lieutenant Dan Band, and just the things he does, raising money for disabled veterans, and just basically just being the guy. And so so thankful for people like Gary Sinise who actually do stuff. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, we're going to have time in the show. The Third Dipper coming up in a little while is going to be about Veterans Day, and if you've got a veteran that you would like to have their name called out on the air, don't send me a big long thing about them. Just say who they are and how you know them, and text it in, 833-687-4448. You can also call in if you want to. Wait till the Veterans Day segment on that to call in if you would. But 833-687-4448, same number to call or text. I would love to hear if there's somebody out there that you want us to recognize them on the air and thank them for their service. We'll be glad to do it, especially on a show where me being a veteran too, it's just a soft spot in my heart, coming from a family of veterans. Be glad to do it. 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. Ken from Harvest just texted in a little bit ago about Kamala Harris and said, the cackler sounds like a Batman villain. Yes, it does. Well, she actually might be. Steve from Hoover says, the reason the water can't get out of the landfills is because now the landfills are lined, keeps the liquids from escaping into the water supply. Thank you. Yeah, I get that, and you're right, and I know why they do that, and they should. I just find it kind of silly that she's focusing on pumpkins and we can't recoup the water. But anyway, Steve, good point. Thank you for that. And then JT from Lacey Springs. Did I read that one already? Oh yeah, he's bringing back an oldie but a goodie. He says, climate concerns. How about the tens of thousands of goose scoot spots in Phil's backyard?
Yes.
Thousands of goose scoots in my backyard. All right, here's one for you in the realm of kakistocracy. Kakistocracy, a government run by the least competent of its citizens. Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. Wow. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, a coalition, according to a story on Fox News dated yesterday, a coalition of 18 House Republicans led by GOP Conference Chair Elise Stefanik of New York are pressing Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm over her agency's invitation for foreign adversaries to inspect a sensitive U.S. nuclear testing site. I saw that and I thought, surely not. Well, I mean, this is the woman, by the way, don't forget, who recently testified how she really does believe the military will be able to go to at least for our non-tactical vehicles, to an all-electric fleet by, the year 2030. Okay, no. In a letter sent Thursday morning, Stefanik and other Republicans blasted Granholm for recently offering China and Russia what they called, quote, unprecedented access to the Department of Energy's Nevada National Security Site. Oh my gosh. Bloomberg reported in September that the DOE, the Department of Energy's National Security Administration, invited Chinese and Russian officials to tour the site to prove the U.S. is upholding a 3-decade moratorium against testing nuclear weapons. Well, all right, they point out, though, it comes just months after Russian President Vladimir Putin suspended his own nation's participation. Wow. So, and Putin also last week signed into law, by the way, withdrawing Russia from its ratification of the global treaty banning nuclear weapons. Our State Department condemned his actions. And yet our Energy Department says, hey, y'all want to come see our nuclear site? It's very cool. We'll show it to you. Anyway, Chairman of the House Armed Services Strategic Forces Subcommittee is Representative Doug Lambert of Colorado. And he says, this allows them to derive our methods and procedures. It destroys our own deterrence. And he says, as chairman of the House Armed Services Committee that he's on, he says, in the world today, one of my priorities has been to strengthen and protect our nuclear arsenal. Nothing can jeopardize national security more than losing that advantage. Just an amazing kakistocracy moment. How utterly tone deaf, how utterly out of touch is our Secretary of Energy, that not only under her watch have we gone to energy dependence, Have we seen oil and gas be vilified so that we can move towards the green new steel? But now we're also seeing her saying, hey, Russia, China, would you like to see the Nevada nuclear security site? We'll be glad to show it to you. It's really neat. Well, that's just a jacked up situation. Kakistocracy all the way. All right, listen, we're going to be taking a break here in a moment. I'll come back and finish up kakistocracy. Oh, yeah, there's more. This never seems to end. We'll talk about it. And then we'll switch gears and go into the last part of the show with number 3 of the Triple Dipper regarding Veterans Day and Alabama's own connectivity to it. So if you would like to text in or call in, 833-687-4448. If you want me to call out and thank a veteran, someone you're thankful for, then you let me know, and we'll be glad to read it out on the air. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, covering down on all the issues. And like the dude just said, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, welcome to Fridays, hour number 3, getting into go-home mode for many of y'all, heading into the Veterans Day weekend. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. By the way, I said earlier, and I mean it, and I see some of them already coming in, if you would like to text in or call in the name of someone you want to honor for Veterans Day, I don't have to have a big, long thing about them. Just tell me who they are, if you know what service they were in, and then how they're related to or in your sphere, so to speak. Yeah, let me know. 833-687-4448. What you got,
so,
man?
We've already gotten texts starting to come in, which is awesome. But before we start doing any of that, Lee from Huntsville texted in and told us that we missed a vital piece of our Hallmark movie.
Oh, our script?
Yeah, we did. And you're going to completely agree with this because I was like, you are correct.
Pray tell, what is it?
All right. She said, you guys need to start writing for Hallmark, but you definitely we definitely understand the formula. Yeah. But we forgot to add that he is a widower with a child or has a niece or nephew or has to adopt a kid, and they really need that mother figure.
Oh, so you're right. It's got to be the precocious little school-age child who's in the school pageant, and by the way, this is in need of a mother figure.
We forgot that part.
And bonds quickly with her.
Absolutely.
Quickly.
Very quickly.
Bonds.
Within a couple days.
Lee from Huntsville's a Hallmark fan, I can tell.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, hey, let's push through this cacostocracy. By the way, text it in, call it in, 833-687-4448. Is there a veteran you want us to recognize for you? We'll call their name out. Absolutely will. So this just happened. Story on the Daily Signal. Alejandro Mayorkas, I've been saying, I don't know how long I've been saying, probably the entire time he's been in office, that guy needs to go. Because if there's I tell you what, let me ask you this. What position in our current Biden administration has not been a failure? I'm struggling. Okay, Secretary of Energy? No. Vice President? No. Department of Health and Human Services issued their recent pronoun policies? No. We got the Department of Education with the former teachers union guy running it all? No. What about? I'm struggling here, man. Yeah. I mean, Department of Defense gone woke. We had Afghanistan recruiting's way down. No.
Yeah, the list goes on.
It just Okay. Well, all that to say. One more to the list here, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. How did he get that job? Well, he was confirmed by the Senate, but there's that. At a recent hearing on threats to Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas once again avoided answering tough questions from concerned members. Keep in mind, we're doing cacostocracy. Cacostocracy, a government run by the least competent of its citizens. Wow. So in a recent hearing, once again, Mayorkas called on the carpet, and you know the deal, the apologetics from the Democrats and the slams from the Republicans. It winds up, to me, those hearings, I don't know what they really produce except sound bites, but that's okay. Anyway, Senator Ron Johnson, Republican, showed a chart of the rising number of border encounters that depicted the Biden administration's failure to prevent illegal aliens, including an unknown number of criminals and suspected terrorists. Johnson tried to get Mayorkas to tell the committee how many people have been let in on his watch. Not just released aliens and trusted to show up for deportation hearings, but aliens that were paroled under various other made-up programs. Senator Rick Scott wanted to know the number of suspected terrorists encountered for the Department of Homeland Security and their countries of origin. And then we're forced to explain his agency's performance. All Mayorkas would do was go back to, we have a broken immigration system. We need a pathway to citizenship, which means amnesty. Yeah. You know who got him the most? Go figure, Mitt Romney. Every once in a while. He said it was Senator Mitt Romney, according to the story here on Daily Signal, who nailed it, demonstrating the unity there is on this issue across the Republican conference. Gesturing to Johnson's chart, he told Mayorkas, "If that were my record, I would have resigned in shame or designed legislation to solve the problem. You've done neither. Asylum is broken, but you've been there for 3 years. Have you even proposed legislation to fix the asylum system? What one thing would you do?" And Mayorkas then fell back on his excuse about worldwide unprecedented levels of immigration. Romney pointed out again, that level, it also happens to coincide with you coming into office. The key factor is your administration. Kakistocracy at the border. That's what we got. Hey, listen, so next story, kakistocracy. How about this one? Senate Republicans have now launched an investigation into the Justice Department for spying on congressional staffers. What? Yes. Story on Red State. Every time we think we're done with the Justice Department's Spygate and the Russian collusion controversy, it just pulls us back in. It appears at this point we are the political versions of Michael Corleone, who can't seem to escape one of the most egregious scandals in American political history. So bottom line is this. Republicans on the Senate Judiciary have now demanded that they get answers from the Department of Justice with subpoenas going out about why numerous current and former congressional staffers have recently learned that the Justice Department subpoenaed their personal phones and email records in 2017 under the pretext of a leak investigation. That's unconscionable. You're subpoenaing the records of congressional staffers. Why? You're spying on congressional staffers. Why? Did you really have that much fear that there was some kind of Spygate going on? Well, and it gets deeper when you consider, too, they were even doing covert surveillance of the personal communications of attorneys that worked with the congressional oversight committees. Y'all, this is unbelievable. This is kakistocracy run amok at this point. That's the enforcement wing of kakistocracy running amok. Last one for the kakistocracy, as long as I'm just encouraging you for the weekend. Boomer brought this one up yesterday, brought this to my attention. This is the same story I think you had from the Federalist. Yeah, Federalist story 2 days ago. House Republicans helped the Dems to preserve the kill switch mandate that could shut down. If you did not hear us talking about this, this should just make you mad. And by the way, this is proof that kakistocracy can be bipartisan. The least competent among us can be in both parties. Apparently, buried deep within the infrastructure law passed by Congress, the $2021 trillion debacle that was basically the Green New Deal in another name, we have been now informed that the law currently mandates that car manufacturers by the year 2026 shall include what they call, quote, advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology as standard equipment. What does that mean? Well, it provides a requirement that the vehicle have passive technology that, quote, monitors the performance of the driver to prevent or limit motor vehicle operation if impairment is detected. How do you do that? Either A, we get in our vehicles and we have to blow into a tube every single time, or B, when you're driving down the road and you swerve to avoid a deer, it's going to think that all of a sudden you're drunk and it's going to shut off your vehicle. It's a kill switch bill. They've actually got a kill switch provision written into federal legislation. So Thomas Massey, who I like Thomas Massey, Kentucky Republican, Representative Massey brought an amendment to strip that section out of there. Get that out of our laws. We don't need that. We do not need big government putting something in our cars that goes, appears to me that you qualify as being impaired. Our kakistocracy would like to, shut off your vehicle. What happens if you're rushing someone to the hospital in your vehicle? And because you're driving faster than normal to get them there, the vehicle thinks, something's wrong here, beep, shuts you down on the side of the road. What do? Do you come to a dead stop in traffic? Are you then the one blocking the roads? How does this work? Well, the introduction of the kill switch on all new vehicles coincides, it says, with a growing push among the far left to limit freedom of movement. And it tends to relate to climate change issues where they want to justify the ability to restrict people from having cars. Y'all, this is unreal. This is unreal. And what's more unreal is there were 19 Republicans that voted against his amendment. 19 Republicans basically helped Democrats to keep that thing in there. So Thomas Massey brings the bill. The vast majority of Republicans go, yeah, we got to get rid of that. Even 2 Democrats voted for his amendment. but 19 Republicans in our narrow majority, 19 Republicans voted against it. Cacistocracy on all levels. All right, listen, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back and we're switching gears. I see the text messages coming in, and I'm glad to do it. If you've got a veteran, that's someone that you would like to have their name called out, I would love to do that for you right now as we head into the last dipper of the day on Veterans Day itself. And I'm going to tell you, in case you didn't already know, about the amazing connection that Alabama has with the founding of Veterans Day as a national recognized day, to include still the biggest parade in the nation, I believe. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. We're 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 back. We
And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Y'all, I'm just telling you right now, making it cool to be a conservative around here. So let me tell you who else is pretty cool at what they do, and that's our friends at Southern Immediate Care. All right, Southern Immediate Care, one of the sponsors of this show, they are a chain of clinics that are all over our listening area. I mean, places like Gadsden, Anniston, Attala, 5 locations in and around the Birmingham area. I think the 2 newest ones were Chelsea and Hoover. And listen, this is who I use personally. And I say that not because they've been advertising on the show. I was going there long before that. I know the guy that owns the chain, and he's a true right side ruffian. But me going there is what maybe prompted me to then ask them would they consider advertising, because I love what they do and how they do it. So Southern Immediate Care, they can see all ages. I'm talking pediatric to geriatric. They can see all of them. They're open 7 days a week too. I mean, so you wake up on a Saturday morning. I always say it this way. You wake up on a Saturday morning, the kid has a fever. What do? Do you wait till Monday? No. Southern Immediate Care. Every time I've gone in the door, it's been friendly, courteous, clean, professional. Sounds like a Boy Scout. But anyway, there you have it. What I'm saying is Southern Immediate Care, they are there for you. If you need them, look online, find the location nearest to you. And if you do go over there, do me a favor, tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio, Southern Immediate Care. I got a call on line. We're going into this section on Veterans Day, and I got a call on line 1. Let me go ahead and take that real quick. Michael from Huntsville. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Fine. How are you today, Phil?
I am good, sir. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to say, give a big thank you to my son, Master Sergeant Michael Smith.
Outstanding.
He's serving in the Air Force in Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska.
Well, thank you for his service, and thank you for calling him out. I appreciate that, Michael. Appreciate you being in the audience, too, man.
All righty. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, you want to text it in for the next little bit. We're going to do Veterans Day stuff. And if you want to call it in or text it in with a name of a veteran that you want to honor, if you text it in, we'll read it out. Don't give me a long thing about them because I want to get to all of them. Just give me a little short who they are, what they did, and how they're connected to you. But let me say this, Veterans Day. Like, for instance, I'm going to tell you what it's not, right? It's not this, the story I've got from mynorthwest.com, Jason Rance, who runs a radio show out there in the Pacific Northwest. Apparently in Redmond, Oregon, there's a school that decided to replace its annual Veterans Day event with what it calls a peace assembly. Pray tell, what is this? Well, Benjamin Rush Elementary School in Lake Washington School District traditionally holds its Veterans Day assembly featuring songs like Grand Old Flag and This Land Is Your Land, and this year it's going to be different. This year, in place of the Veterans Day Assembly, they chose to recognize the International Day of Tolerance, sponsored by the United Nations. And parents had no idea till they got there. Families didn't have time to learn about the change. It was jarring. The songs they sang were things like Live in Peace and Peace Builder Pledge Song and something called Amani Utepe Na Yustawe. I don't know what that means. And the bottom line is they totally missed the point. They totally missed the point. This is not, the reason why you have peace at your peace assembly is because of veterans. The reason why you have the ability to have a nation where you can run a kakistocracy is because of veterans. The reason why you have the ability to sing songs and wave flags in public is because of veterans. And that school's totally missing the point. And for them to just go ahead and say, you know what, we are not going to celebrate veterans. Well, those warmongers, I don't know veterans who are warmongers. I know veterans who will go to war and many who have, but I don't know veterans that are warmongers. And I'm going to tell you right now, that school has totally missed it. And there's some parents need to pull their kids out of that school. But Veterans Day is a set-aside with a special amount of sentiment and a special history attached to the state of Alabama, which I'm going to cover in just a moment. Right now, I got a call on line 1. Is that Grandma Wanda? We haven't heard from her in too long. Grandma Wanda, how are you doing?
Well, I'm just fine, and I've been listening to you, sir. It's just awesome.
Well, thank you.
What you're there, but I'm going to get this right. Okay, I'm calling about the veterans in my family.
Yeah.
One especially that I want to highlight. It was my cousin Ronnie Maddox.
Okay.
Ronald Maddox, R.C. Maddox, served in the Marines in Vietnam.
Wow.
And I remember him mostly because he was younger than me. He's gone now. He died of a brain tumor, possibly from the the water at Camp Lejeune. But on his deathbed, he was lying in his living room on his bed, and he said, tears in his eyes, he said, I want our country back. He said, if we have to take it back from China, if we have to take it back from Russia, that I want the USA back. He said, when I was 17, I could have whipped them all.
I bet he could. I bet
And
he could.
he had made an appointment with someone at the Birmingham radio station, Mickey, I forgot his last name, that he wanted to talk to him about that, but he died before he could do that.
Wow.
And then my other veterans, I'm just going to go quickly, was his father, E.C. Maddox, veteran of World War II in Korea. In peacetime, I had a husband and 2 sons. And in Iraq, I had 2 sons-in-law. And in Afghanistan, in Afghanistan, I had 1 grandson. In Korea, I had 1 grandson.
Wow. Well, your personal sphere is covered up in veterans, Grandma Wanda, and listen, we honor their service, and we thank you for calling them out and doing the same, and we love you. Call back in more often, all right?
Okay. Do you have time for one more comment?
I got about 30 seconds before we go to a break. What you got?
Okay. My eldest son was born in Verdun, France, U.S. Army Hospital, Verdun, France. And I visited that war museum over there where they had all the skeletons in the basement. And I just also want to call out everybody that was under the acres of white crosses there in Verdun.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Great call, Grandma. Thank you so much. That's our friend. We call her Grandma Wanda from Coleman. And man, we hadn't heard from her in too long. That was good. Well, the text messages are flowing in, and you're about to hear in a minute, not only from other members of the listening audience, but you're about to hear from the greatest president in my lifetime, Ronald Reagan, as he awarded an Alabamian for helping get Veterans Day started. Y'all stay tuned. This is a great story. I'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. Just covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation, Alabama. Most veteran-friendly state in the nation, Alabama. And I'm talking about y'all. This show goes way down south of Birmingham, up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Hey, I tell you what. I tell you who else covers a lot of ground. That's our friends at ZLA Solutions. ZLA Solutions. Listen, if you are a business looking for folks or needing help streamlining your operations, I mean, ZLA Solutions, they exist for the sole purpose, they say it, to help you make your business better. I mean, they can come in and provide things like logistics, warehousing, quality control, but then they also, by the way, their big thing is staffing. They can help you find people. They can do the recruiting, the background check, the drug testing, all of it. Find you a whole shift of people or just the onesies and twosies you need with the hard-to-find niche skills. So yeah, ZLA Solutions, I know these people personally. I believe in them and how they do what they do. And they are helping a ton of big-name employers, and not just big ones, but even small ones, all over our listening area and way beyond. So yeah, ZLA Solutions. You can find them on their website, ZLA Solutions at zlausa.com. Check them out. That's ZLA Solutions at zlausa.com. And please tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio. Tons of text messages coming in. I'll be getting to those momentarily. Let me just tell you. So Veterans Day, not to be confused with Memorial Day. And I'm going to say something that most of y'all already know, but Memorial Day, of course, is the last Monday in May. It honors service members who have actually died in service. And that's the one we honor. We've honored the fallen. All right, we are remembering them and their memory. Veterans Day is when we actually thank a veteran for their service. It's a day set aside to honor the fact that we've had roughly, I think it's 19 million people in the United States in our history that have served in the U.S. military. I mean, you can look at it and go, okay. Veterans Day, it's a federal holiday. It falls on November 11th. I get that. It's designated as a day to honor more than 19 million men and women who have served in the U.S. military. I get that. First observed as an Armistice Day in 1919, but then it really took hold because of one guy from Alabama. No kidding. One guy from Alabama. So in 1947, there was a World War II vet named Raymond Weeks. He had an idea, and he was from Birmingham. And recognizing that the U.S. had already, honored its fallen service members on Memorial Day, Weeks decided he wanted to honor vets. And so he organized what became the first celebration to ever use the name Veterans Day. And it was a parade that we still have today for over 78 years now, I believe. The Veterans Day Parade in Birmingham, Alabama is still, and I've had a chance to march in that parade. Very cool. Huge parade. Like, wow, big. And the Veterans Day Parade in Birmingham, Alabama is the longest running and still one of the biggest in the nation. Founded by a guy named Raymond Weeks, who started and coined the phrase Veterans Day. And in less than a decade later, he started that in 1947, just a couple years after the war. In less than a decade later, his idea had taken hold. Congress went ahead and passed a bill naming November 11th, Veterans Day, a national holiday. Keep in mind, November 11th, that was the day that Raymond Weeks had chosen. So Raymond Weeks coined the phrase Veterans Day from Birmingham, Alabama. Raymond Weeks picked the day, November 11th. Raymond Weeks, 75 years later, went up to D.C. and had President Ronald Reagan award him the Presidential Citizens Medal in 1982. And I tell you what, we got a clip of that. I want to play this. I'm going to have two clips today of Ronald Reagan, both from the same ceremony. The first one, though, he's actually talking about our Alabamian Raymond Weeks. Go ahead and hit it, Boom.
The President of the United States.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the White House. This morning we're honoring an American patriot, Raymond Weeks of Birmingham, Alabama. For more than 50 years, Mr. Weeks has exemplified the finest traditions of American volunteerism by his unselfish service to his country. As director of the National Veterans Day celebration in Birmingham for the past 36 years, Raymond Weeks, a World War II veteran himself, has devoted his life to serving others, his community, the American veteran, and his nation. He was the driving force behind the congressional action which in 1954 established this special holiday as a day to honor all American veterans. It's a pleasure for me to present Mr. Weeks the Presidential Citizens Medal given to those who have made outstanding contributions to their country. And Mr. Weeks, in honoring you, we honor the ideals that we hope to live up to. Your country is mighty grateful for what you've done. Now,
there you go. That's an amazing moment there. Think about this, y'all. I mean, how cool is it that Veterans Day started in Birmingham? I mean, I know there were Armistice Days and there were other kind of things that was kind of loosely intertwined here and there, the other, but one guy decided on November 11th he was gonna take Armistice Day and call it Veterans Day and start a parade. And the next thing you know, he has got this thing building, and then it catches hold. A decade later, it becomes national law, and then President Ronald Reagan recognizes him at the White House with the Presidential Citizens Medal for his work in doing what we now call Veterans Day. Listen, Alice from Huntsville is texting in. She says, well, thank you for your service, too, and I appreciate that, Alice. Thank you very much. Thomas from Athens says, Captain Gary Michael Rose, U.S. Army, retired 20 years, including Vietnam and other countries, Special Forces medic, Medal of Honor recipient. Wow, yeah. He said they worship together and they attend the Knights of Columbus. Ron from Grissom, Alabama, says, my uncle, Elwin Spiegel, U.S. Army, Vietnam, 1966, and Uncle David Grissom, U.S. Army, Vietnam, 1969. Patrick from Grove Oak says, last month, we got to witness a 21-gun salute and hear taps to my father-in-law, Bob Cummins. Thank you for his service. John from Harvest says, Veterans Day shout-out to Uncle Johnny, who served in the 99th Infantry Division during the Battle of the Bulge. And my dad served in the Army Air Corps from 1945 to 47, and my son, active duty, Cav Scout with the 25th Infantry Division, John in Harvest. Thank you. Raven from Russellville, well, thank you. He says, I want to recognize you, Colonel Williams, and deepest respect and appreciation. Well, it's very, he says, salute rendered. Raven, I'm honored by that, and the same back to you, my brother. Shane from Athens says, my son-in-law, Brady Horton, Army combat medic, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Do we have a name on this one? No name, but it just says, my father, Larkin Sanderson, Korean War, 1951, from Decatur, Alabama. Thank you for that. Myron from Winfield says he doesn't want to hear the papers rattle anymore. Okay, Myron, have a great day. What else we got here? New text from a longtime listener. It says, Brian B. from Athens. I'd like to recognize my father, Virgil Bartlow, served 1965 to 1968 in the 2nd Cav as a scout in Germany. Also, my grandfather, who has passed away, Virgil Bartlow Sr., served 41 months in World War II in the Pacific Theater. Thank you for your service, Phil Williams, and I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. J.T. Lacey Springs, the late H.D. Hamilton, World War II, Europe. He was one of 2 survivors of his battalion. Wow, how about that? David from Athens says, Phil, here's my Veterans Day list, and he gives me several. He says, Raymond Haley, my father, served in the Army during World War II. Charles Elliott, my father-in-law, served in the Army during both World War II and the Korean conflict. Martin Haley, my brother, he says, retired Air Force, 20 years. Anthony Elliott, medically retired Navy. Nicholas Haley, 8 years in the Army, served in Iraq. William Nance, my grandson, currently served in the Army in Alaska. That's David in Athens, who himself is U.S. Army retired, 22 years. David, what an amazing family. Thank you for your service, and thank you for theirs. I got a quick call that I'll take before I go to a break, and we got more of these texts coming in. You want to text it or call it, you're welcome to it, 833-687-4448. Got another clip coming from Ronald Reagan right after the break, but let me take this call from Brenda in Rogersville. Hey, Brenda, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Colonel Williams. How about you?
I'm good. Thank you. What you got there for us?
I want to say thank you for your service from 2 GIs. You have me and my husband both served 21 years in the Air Force side by side.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you for your service and thank all of the veterans for theirs, because without them, we wouldn't have the freedom that we have now. We need more of us back in the military.
Well, Brenda, I appreciate you and your husband. Thank you for your combined service. That's 42 years of total service between the two of you. We appreciate you more than I can say.
Well, you have a great and a blessed day, and happy Veterans Day to all veterans.
Same back to you. All right. I tell you what, let me read a few more of these for the break. Navy Phil from Athens says, Gunnery Sergeant Delma Tidwell, USMC, 3 tours in Vietnam, 1 in Korea. That's his uncle. And Sergeant Ralph Browning, World War II, Battle of the Bulge, 2 Bronze Stars, my wife's grandfather. Mike from Rogersville says, Roy Latow, World War II. Ray Latow, Korean War, Vietnam. Bob Latow, Vietnam. And then that's Mike from Rogersville. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And I'm glad to call him out. Dave from someplace we don't know says Sergeant Jim Holmes, Special Forces, also in the Air Force, wounded at Grenada, lost his hearing. Appreciate it, Dave, and thank you for his service. Terry from Town Creek says, my grandfather, Sam Chapman, World War II, Korea, POW, died in Camp 1252. Wow. And then Tim from Madison says, please recognize my Uncle Coy Garrison, Army, Vietnam vet. Thanks, and thank you, Phil, for your service. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Brian from Huntsville says, vets, my father, Calvin Cuxey, USS Iowa battleship, World War II, and my father-in-law, Carl Dean Cole, a medic, Korean War. Thank you, Brian. And then Joe from Birmingham says, Lieutenant Colonel Hipster, we might be on to something. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate you, Joe. All right, listen, we got more of these, and as we're playing out, I'll just say right now, I recognize, my own father, Philip Williams Sr., 21 years active Army, 2 tours in Vietnam. My grandfather, Brigadier General George McBride, one of the former post commanders at Redstone Arsenal, a veteran of World War II, Korea, Vietnam. And my brother, who served in the Army Reserves, and my son, who's on active duty right now. Anyway, Veterans Day. More of that. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right, just making common sense like a superpower. Tell you who else has got some superpower, though, before I go any further. I got to tell you about the Elm Foundation. So you may have heard their ads playing, but the Elm Foundation, if you're not familiar, is an amazing 501c3, a nonprofit group based out of Huntsville that is doing just some very cool stuff to get people back on their feet in life. And I don't mean like a little bit. I mean like they got an amazing track record of getting people off the streets, empowering them with the whole idea of self-worth and dignity of good work, and providing them with accountability, giving them the leg up, not just throwing money at it like the government would do, actually providing accountability and walking people through a plan, letting them know when they're not hitting their milestones, pointing out the things they can do to help improve their lot in life by actually engaging in their own processes of living. Well, look, the Elm Foundation, ELM, that's Elm Foundation's based out of Huntsville, and this is the year-end giving time. They are a 501c3. If you look at their website and like what they do, please give them some consideration as you consider your year-end giving. And their website is this. It's ELMHSV, as in Elm Huntsville, ELMHSV.org. That's the Elm Foundation, ELMHSV.org. Well, I'm going to run out of time. I'm going to take a quick call, and then I've got a clip from Ronald Reagan, plus I got some more dedications I got to read. Let me grab that phone call real quick. Line 1, Mike from Elkmont. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, great to talk to you, Phil. It being Veterans Day, I appreciate you. But earlier this year, one of my great uncles was recognized, John Wade Chise, as Alabama's very first veteran. He fought in the Revolutionary War, fought Bunker Hill, Kings Mountain, several other. He's buried in the Athens City Cemetery. Had 2 kids, one named George, one named Washington. But by proclamation, the governor signed it. It's we were very pleased to have that.
Wow, that's
enshrined.
very cool.
But all of my family, everyone's pretty much just about every conflict we've had have served. But love our veterans. Thank all who have served. We got the Marine Corps ball tomorrow night, and today's our birthday, so hoorah.
Hoorah, Semper Fi. Thank you for that, Mike. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Thanks for your service. Let me read a few of these, and then Boomer, keep tabs on me for time because I want to play that last clip we got, okay? And forgive me, I'm going to try and get through all of them. Bill from Madison says thanks for your service, but he also says his own nephew, Robert Scott, USMC, Ramadi. Thank you for his service, Bill. P. Mark H. from Decatur says, Mark from Decatur says, I want to recognize my father, Charles Henderson, veteran of the Korean War and the National Guard. Also, my father-in-law, Eugene Page, veteran of World War II in the U.S. Army. Pacific Theater, still alive at 101 years old. Wow, how about that? We got unnamed, but it says my husband, Major Ron Workman, a surgeon, Fort Carson, Colorado, 4th ID, 1974 to 76. Jeremy from Huntsville says my great uncle, Edward Galbraith, shot down over Germany, POW, died January 4th of this year. Listen, I want to play a clip. That same dedication by Ronald Reagan of our Alabama citizen who helped found, Mr. Weeks, who helped found Veterans Day. Ronald Reagan followed giving him his medal with these comments. I think it's worth playing. Let's do it right now, Boom, while we have a moment.
Much. Please sit down here. It is fitting that we pay tribute to Mr. Weeks on this day when we remember the sacrifices of those who donned this country's uniform and did their part to protect our freedom and independence. Words alone cannot express our gratitude to the brave men and women who took on the task of protecting our country from foreign threats and aggression. President Coolidge once said, "The nation which forgets its defenders will be itself forgotten." Nothing is more important to the soul of America than remembering and honoring those who gave of themselves so that we might enjoy the fruits of peace and liberty. And that is the spirit of this special day.
It is indeed the fruits of this special day. People like my sweet wife, Charlene's grandfather, Daniel Patterson, United States Marine Corps, Iwo Jima, and others that I'll try to read as we head into the final minute. Leslie from Trussville, her own father, Russell Harp, a Marine in Korea, fought in combat, also served as assistant to the chaplain. Mike from Muscle Shoals, His family has at least one veteran in every conflict, he says, and that's who we just had, I think, a moment ago in the call. Boomer, I know your own granddad was also, right?
Both my grandfathers.
Yeah.
One in the Navy, Hugh Wallace and Wilf May.
Yeah.
And then two uncles, James Hanks and Hugh Campbell.
Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, I think I knew all of them except maybe James. But,
right.
Outstanding. Yeah, your family. Thank you for their service and for the veterans in your family. JD from Priceville says, my father-in-law, David Johnson, Vietnam. He's been gone for 12 years because of Agent Orange. Amazing man, second only to my father in my life. Steve from Huntsville. I'm sorry. I tell you what, I won't read it out now, Steve, because I just realized you said don't recognize who you are, but he wanted me to recognize somebody. Anyway, I hear what you're saying, man, and appreciate you. Trina from Elkmont says, my husband, Colonel Ryan Averbeck. Jeff from Indiana says, I want to recognize my father, Sergeant Charles Edwards, the Corps of Engineers in Korea. We've got great number of you out there still recognizing, and John from Huntsville ends up by saying, I want to say to all veterans out there, thank you for your service. John, thank you for that. And he also gave you an A++, Boom, just so you know. But he says Brian from Huntsville got the A++, so there you have it. All right, listen, you guys, we do honor our veterans. Thanks to all of you and for your family members and friends who put on the uniform. You are among the few, the proud, and we're glad to count you among the ruffians in this audience. Y'all have an amazing weekend. We'll see you Monday.